I would like to greet you all with the most heartfelt thoughts, love and respect. We today held the 40th presidential cabinet meeting of our executive presidential system. From natural disasters to foreign politics, from economy to many other subjects, during our presidential cabinet meeting, we talked about many subjects and also come up with the roadmap for the forthcoming periods. Of course, the first item in our agenda today was the coronavirus outbreak. The outbreak keeps threatening the whole world as well as our country. The number of the cases across the world is almost 29, and the fatalities, the number of the deaths, unfortunately, exceeded 900,000, and the whole world is still challenged by the pandemic. There are certain countries where the new daily cases exceed the figure of 1,000. And some European countries are now struggling against the new wave of the pandemic. Turkey, with its strong healthcare infrastructure, and thanks to all the measures we have taken, our country is, thank God, in a good position. But of course, the current current situation we are in now is still not pleasing. We are deeply saddened by the increasing number of new cases. We insistingly ask our citizens to adhere to the rules of wearing face masks, social distancing, and hygiene. Besides, we take certain additional measures in certain cities of the country. Cafes and restaurants will be more strictly inspected now. And when it comes to public transportation, no passenger will be allowed to stand within the vehicle. And pertaining to the decisions of the provincial health boards, certain other restrictions may be imposed. And those who are not wearing masks will be fined, and those amounts will definitely be collected. Certain shifts, flexible shifts will be put in practice for certain positions and jobs. As you know, the Ministry of Health informs the society in detail every week, and statistics about new cases and fatalities and other pieces of data are, of course, regularly shared. Of course, the success we will have depends on the struggle and the meticulousness we show in the face of this outbreak. Coronavirus is still a disease for which a certain treatment has not still been found. A person, infected person, and everyone else, of course, are required to take their own measures. We, throughout this pandemic period, have opened many hospitals and enlarged the scope of the services we deliver for our people. And our healthcare professionals do work very hard to serve our people. And using this opportunity, I would like to thank to our 1.1 healthcare professionals, the army of healthcare professionals, all the way from the nurses to the physicians to everyone working at the hospitals and in the healthcare industry. And our, of course, authorities and institutions, the governor's offices, the municipalities, and many others do support this process tremendously. And VEFA social groups met the demands of almost 16 million people and always were ready for delivering the due help and assistance. And the Ministry of Health has ensured throughout this pandemic for everyone to adhere to the rules. I would like to thank to the law enforcement, the gendarmerie, and also the emergency case personnel and all the hospitals and institutions and authorities that supported that supported us during this process. But of course, I should reiterate that the risk is still ongoing. If we do not abide by the rules, adhere to the measures at home, on the streets, the measures we take will not protect us on a standalone basis. So we should be careful about our people, our own families, those beloved to us. And I make a call on to everyone to support this whole process with a spirit of mobilization. Until we find a better solution, we will be reorganizing our lives in line with three basic measures of wearing face masks, social distancing, and hygiene. Of course, the fall, the autumn season is coming, and before the influenza cases increase and surge in number, we should try our best to bring the daily cases, new cases, lower in number, and the fatalities down to zero. Until this pandemic is over, we all know that we cannot feel safe. But more importantly, we should be practicing the methods to curb the outbreak in the best way possible. We will take the measures and then let God to bless us. And using this opportunity, I would like to wish for a quick recovery for all the citizens who are still receiving treatment at our hospitals, and I would like to offer my condolences to the families of those who lost their lives due to the COVID-19. And may God, I pray, protect us during this era of pandemic. My distinguished brothers and sisters, during this pandemic era, we have not stopped serving for our people. We have brought many hospitals and healthcare institutions to operation. We provided all the supplies from masks to the PPEs, from ventilators to drugs and sanitizers and disinfectants. We have produced everything locally and offered them to our people and put them in use. For example, we imported more than 2,700 ventilators we locally and domestically produced. We have always taken the advices by our scientists into account. From tests to hospitalization, we have met all the needs of our citizens free of charge. And during this era, of course, we have not left any Turkish citizen alone, no matter where they were. And we, through the transportation bridges we have established, if you will, brought all the citizens living abroad back to our country. And the whole world now envies our healthcare system and the strength of our healthcare infrastructure. And due to this pandemic, we have once again had the chance to test our healthcare system, from establishing test centers at many locations and establishing hospitals and field hospitals, even test points at customs. We have taken all measures necessary, and we have also brought many programs into practice to provide incentives for our citizens. And we have collected 2.76 billion liras to share with our citizens over the Fund of Social Assistance and Solidarity under the title of We Are Self-Sufficient campaign. And to the COVID-19 hospitals, we also have been paying 666 liras per patient, and in ICUs this figure is doubled. We also have many other subsidies and social incentives for the unemployed, and we have always kept delivering assistance, financial assistance for our citizens, and we have allocated a total of 34 billion liras of financial assistance for our citizens. And short-term employment subsidy will be in effect until October 31st. As of August, by the end of August, 3.3 million have not applied for short-term employment incentives, and this indicates that many enterprises, many workplaces have gone back to normal, regular way of working, but we still provided them with insurance premiums so that they can be supported along this path. This way, we believe that we show that our state stands with its people all the time. We, in the second quarter of the year, have experienced a shrinkage in our economy as expected, but it is a reality that we are ahead of many other countries, even most of the developed countries across the world. And the indicators now show us that the third quarter of this year will be much better economy-wise. And we have now increased figures in many fields that show how active our economy is. Likewise, during the first 8 months of the year, 7 new organized industrial zones have been opened and come operational. And we have more than 50,000 people working in those industrial zones, and more than 7,000 new factories have started operating. And investment incentive documents also increased by 30%. Speaking of our export for this year, we see that the figure has been registered higher on a year-on-year basis this August. And our exporters now have been under the same roof of exporters and through a platform. And over this platform, we have a large scale of pieces of data and support offered to our exporters in many fields, such as data retrieved from across the world and all the data regarding the trust indexes. And all the data of the trust indexes of various fields show that we will finish this year with success. Many economy-related incentives and packages declared by many countries only remain on pages or reports while we do put them into practice and materialize. During the first 8 months of this year, we have provided an incentive that amounted totally to 930 billion for our SMEs. From the very beginning of the pandemic, we also have supported distance learning for primary, elementary, secondary, and high school students, and we have always supported the education activities for our country. And in the new era, considering the conditions of the pandemic, will be continuing with a system through which we will have both distance and face-to-face education. Depending on the choices of the parents, I would like to highlight, depending on the choices, the preferences of the parents of the families, the schools will be open for education activities with the primary school students. And this, of course, may change and depends on specific cities, provinces of the country, and as well as specific schools. And our only effort is to ensure that our kids go back to school and continue with their education. And of course, tourism sector has been the sector which has received the hardest impact due to the pandemic. This sector is an important, significant source of income for our country, and we have exerted a lot of efforts to ensure that we recover in this sector. And thanks to the system we have established and all the meetings and negotiations held as of yesterday, the official figures show that we have managed to attract 10 million visitors from across the world. And hopefully by the end of this year, this figure will go even higher. And our purpose is to make sure that the measures taken within the country are to help us remove and clear away the negative impacts of the pandemic as rapidly as possible. And hopefully we will ensure that our country emerges in the most profitable way from this pandemic. And with its strong infrastructure and highly qualified human capital, continuously advancing technology and logistical advantages, we know that a brand new era now has opened for Turkey. We have already started receiving the signals and feeling the effects of that. And our business world, I would like to make a call to our business world to make the best out of those new opportunities for us to seize. And in the forthcoming periods, of course, we will continue to stand with our business people. My great nation, the natural gas reserve we have discovered in the Black Sea is, if you will, a symbol of our hopes and dreams about a future. Sakarya natural gas reserve will have a capacity which equals to 1.7 billion barrels of oil, and it is the second biggest resource over the world, and it is one of the rarest in terms of the quality of the gas explored in the region. And with good news hopefully to come, we will be happier and we will work harder to achieve our 2023 targets. And to achieve our targets, we are now stepping into an era during which we will have to work harder and sweat more. Of course, the stronger Turkey becomes economically and military-wise, the handicaps that are put in front of our country increase in number. We, in particular, over the past years, have seen many examples of that. There were some international media outlets that broadcasted Gezi Park protests live for 24 hours, while they ignored many other incidents that took place in Europe. PKK with trench protests that attack our country and civilians, and they stood with the PKK members. And the international community has not supported us when the coup attempt took place in our country. And FETÖ, through their members within the law enforcement, and made a political attempt for a coup, and then with their members infiltrated into the military, they planned a coup. And those external parties only watched, setting hopes on that. And when our country defied this coup attempt, those people embraced them and opened their arms for them. We have encountered many countries that also who stood against our interests. Many countries, just to block and drive Turkey away, cooperated to come up with plans and programs to cut Turkey away. And we, despite all, secured our borders. And when we did so, they tried to manipulate, and we have observed a mechanism that stood in front of us. And there were some who did not refrain from coming together and holding hands with bloodthirsty terrorists and murderers. And we also observed that how they called those who only fought for their rights terrorists. And there were some also who resisted against the support we lent to the legitimate government of Libya. And we, on the other hand, observed the hypocrisy of many others. In the East Mediterranean, a country that has a surface area of more than 780,000 square kilometers, many did stand against us, and when we frustrated their plans, nobody stood with us. And all the treaties pertaining to the treaties we signed, pertaining to the international laws and rules, many illegal and illegitimate actions have been taken against us, and we have watched all of those feeling shame. And there have been also efforts to make Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus isolated, but we watched those efforts with a bitter smile on our faces. There were some who did not include TRNC and Turkey into their accounts, and the more they saw, the more clearly they saw their efforts would go in vain, the more aggressive they have become. And those who ignored the history and the flow of the history now have seen that across them stands a totally different Turkey. Every political, diplomatic, and wrongdoing or disrespectfulness reinforces our ambition rather than making us turn away from our path. And the whole country will defend its rights, interests, and laws. And we have this, thanks to our dignity and respectful, well-respected stance, have managed to stand together. And we owe this to the fact that we own up to our unity, to our unison and brotherhood. And as long as we embrace all those values, we will continue to stand tall and strong. Of course, it has not been easy for us to arrive on this day. Every step Turkey has taken in its efforts for democracy are known by some very clearly. In 1950, we have moved to transited to a multi-party politics system, and from that day on, Turkey, of course, suffered a lot due to instabilities, and we wasted back in time a lot of opportunities and means. And when we had the chance to further develop from the very south to the very north, from the west to the east, we tried our best to make our country thrive more and more, but every time certain things happened to us, and the single party period in and out of itself is a story of a failure. And 1960, 1971, and 82 military coups and the military intervention of 1997 should be very well known by our people, and the instabilities they led. The bridges we have built from our past into our future show that Turkey unfortunately fell behind due to these efforts by some. But over the past 18 years, on one hand, we have compensated for what we had lost in the past, and on the other, we have exerted efforts to establish the infrastructure for better to come. But thank God we have emerged victorious out of this struggle with the support of our people. We first tried our best to develop all corners and every inch of our country in 81 provinces. And first we started a mobilization of movement, and in every area, from health to education to economy, we over the past 18 years have built works and delivered services which totally amounts to what was done throughout the whole history of Republic. And we stood against the tutelage, and we made democracy to function with all of its institutions and authorities. And on the other hand, we have brought reforms to life, reforms that stand exemplary for many countries over the world. And with the executive presidential system, for the first time, we have received the national will directly and made a radical change. In many areas, political and military areas, Turkey stands dignified and with honor. And if we are able to make our economy still stand strong on solid grounds, it is only thanks to those reforms we have made. All the reforms we have made, all the works we have produced, all the services we have delivered, have made our country to take one more step forward. And now the 128-kilometer long Ankara-Niğde motorway has been opened just a few days ago, and those things only come to existence if you put efforts into it. So on one hand, we are constructing roads, and on the other, we are still constructing hospitals, and we will construct more hospitals and highways and motorways in other places of our country. So we will not stop. We will continue to work. And all the plans, all the scenarios to disrupt this course of our country came to our attention, and many traps were laid in front of us. Now, in Giresun province of Turkey, a natural disaster took place, but we did not only remained as mere bystanders when such natural disasters took place. With all the ministries and MPs and relevant authorities, we arrived on the scene to rehabilitate, to recover the whole region, to reconstruct it yet again. So the only political circle, only a political team that is able to do such is our team. And our purpose is to make our country be among the top 10 of the world and go even beyond our dreams, and even go further beyond this dream and bring our generations to better days and leave a legacy of 2053 and 2071 to be carried over to the next generations. And what we have done so far suffices to exhibit our strength and our determination. All the city hospitals, sports complexes, high-speed train railways, and national gardens and libraries and dwelling houses, hospitals, and all other works are in and out of themselves sources of inspiration and stories of development, and these all show that we have been running activities and undertaken projects that are among the top 10 of the world. In human rights, in terms of laws, and in commercial fields, we are preparing for new reforms that will ease the lives of our people. And thanks to all of these efforts, Turkey has gained such a self-confidence and has become a country that has a say in its own region and across the world. To protect our independence and our future, we, if necessary and if the circumstances require, are able and have the will to function and commission all sorts of mechanisms, including the military mechanisms. Recently, in the East Mediterranean, there are some who do ignore the rights of our country, and those who try to make us do what they want will finally accept the realities. those who do stand in front of Turkey at the risk of endangering the lives of their own people, I have to say, will have to pay a heavy price when the time is due. So when it comes to the disputes, it's important to solve the problems through negotiations, meetings, reconciliation. We reiterate that every time, despite sitting around the same table with us, that those who use their fragmented history. I put this aside, but only indicate our diplomacy works of the recent 4 years and our military operations. They should look into those in a detailed way and carefully. Starting from the EU, there are many who do take steps and with a blind a vision, some do attack our country, and I would like to make a call on to them to show justice and common sense. And in Syria and Libya, many European countries failed to pass the test, but we hope that they will at least be successful in the East Mediterranean. And Turkey is resolute, is decisive to adopt politics to defend its rights and interests in the East Mediterranean all the way to the end. With these thoughts, I once again would like to share my love and respect with each and every one of you. I pray that God protects us and ensures that we emerge victorious in all the struggles we take on, and ensure that we are successful in every struggle we have. Thank you very much, and I share my love and respect with you all. Thank you.